Hi, welcome to Elegant Sentiments Today. I'm Cheryl, and every week I'm here sharing an elegant, handcrafted greeting card tutorial that anyone can use to make their own elegant greeting cards. The products and the techniques that I use are super fun, they're easy, and anyone can do them. This is our weekly card share number 116, and today I did a little digging in my stash and pulled out a couple products, and we're going to make a card using just dies and paper. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so for today, I've pulled out two products that I'm going to use that I used for today's project. The first, they're both Lisa Horton products. The first one is this stamp and die set, and it is called, what is this called? This is called You Make Me Smile Sentiments. And so as you can see, there's a triple layered sentiment here, and then it's got the multi-layer sub-sentiment stamped with the coordinating die. But for today's project, I'm just using these three. I'll just be using these three dies. And then the Fantasy Bloom layering dies. It's the other product that I'm using. And I'll be using just this die here for today's project. Super easy, super fun. So let me show you the sample of the card that I made. And here it is. I've got some paper that I used. Actually, this paper is available as a free download on Lisa Horton Crafts website. And here is the sentiment. So super easy, super fun. And this is a great card for if you don't have a lot of time to craft, but you still want something sweet and elegant. So we're going to get started. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to bring out my, I'm going to bring the dies. Let's see. Well, on this is an A2 size card that I made, and this panel is 3 1/4 by 5. And so we're just going to die cut 2 times this leaf into the front panel here. So I'm just gonna probably take this down so that it doesn't move. I bought myself a new electric die cutting machine. So I'm going to bring in the plates for it, and we'll die cut this once. Let me move that over because I want to make sure I've got room for both my leaves on here. So just move that up to the edge. There we go. And I'll run this through my machine. And then we'll do the second one on this same panel. Pull this tape up very carefully. I don't want to tear my paper because this is the actual front panel of my card. And we'll lift this up and move this die over. I'm not worried about moving that cutout yet. And let me go ahead and run this through a second time. There we go. Pull this off. And I think while I'm die cutting, I'll go ahead and just do all my die cutting because this project is really all about dies. Super quick and super easy. And I'll just pull this, this die cut out, and we'll leave that and use that for another project. We don't throw anything away because that can be used, and this will be our front panel. So then the next thing I want to die cut will be my sentiment, and I've got 3 layers. So I've got black, and then my pattern paper and white to make my 3-layer sentiment. And I'm going to take my three-layer dies and we'll run them through. So let me move this out of the way and bring my dies back in. And we'll just cut all three of our dies in one go. So I want the scripted letters to be white. And the middle layer, we're going to use our colored paper. And the back layer, the shadow die there will be in black. And run this through our machine. And then this will give us all three layers of our sentiment. Super easy. It's a fun little sentiment die. I don't know if this one is still on the line, but any sentiment that you have will work well for this project. I'll just leave those on there and pull this off. And then we'll move this out of the way. We'll clean that all up later. So this one is really, I mean, this is a great one if you need to do multiples. You could use this design for Christmas if you were making Christmas cards and had a tree die that had the beautiful shape, and just use a nice pattern paper behind the tree, and or bells or stars or anything, and then have your greeting there. Just really a fun and easy card to make. So you could just take this one simple design and translate it into any type of card that you might be thinking of making when you need to do multiples, because like I said, this is some quick die cutting, and you can just do that in batches. And I can pick this up so I can see what I'm doing. Just holding that there in place. And I like using glue for this. You can't tape it, of course, but glue gives you that little wiggle room to be able to move it around and make sure that your borders are nice and even when you're putting your sentiment together. But yes, if you need a card quickly, a design like this will always work out well, because it takes so little time to do. And it's one of those universal techniques that you can apply for any type of card. Move that back down. Here we go. So there is our sentiment. And then the next thing I want to do is put the panel behind the leaves. And I just cut this. I just had a scrap, and fortunately it's big enough to cover my design. Typically you would want to use a bigger panel, but this is going to work just fine for what we're trying to do. And so I put the glue for this one. I put the glue on this panel as opposed to putting it on the other piece. And I just want to try and make sure that these little inner pieces are actually have some glue on them so that they'll lay down flat onto the card. And just adding some glue all around. And you could actually do your die cutting on this one. You could add a sheet of double-sided adhesive to the back of this panel if you wanted to, and then do your die cutting, so you wouldn't have to worry about the glue. The only thing I don't like about the double-sided adhesive for this sheet when you're doing a small piece like I have. You run the risk of it adhering really quickly before you get it in place. So if you have a piece of designer paper or pattern paper that is bigger than your panel, then that would work just fine, because you can always cut your panel out. But when you've got a smaller piece like I have here, you'll want to do it this way. So just holding this down, giving that glue a chance to grab onto the paper. And there we go. And then we can go ahead and add this to the back of our matting layer, which is 1/8 of an inch larger than our 3 3¾ by 5. So that would be 4 7/8 by 5 1/8. We'll just mat this onto, I'm going to get a piece of white paper so I can make sure that I'm getting my panel on here straight, because it's such a teeny border. I want to make sure that we are, got a little glue there, we're getting this down here straight. Okay. And then I'll take actually I can just get that with my finger. A little bit of glue that was there. Okay, so this is our panel, and then all we need to do is add this to our card front, and we're going to do that using some foam adhesive. So I've got my roll of foam tape here, and we'll just cut a few strips to put behind this. Try to cut them a little longer than I need. And we'll just do 3 of these strips on this panel. And we can add this to our card front. And one more for that center. And of course, this foam is optional. If you just want to have your card be directly on your panel, you can do that. Okay, so we'll move, oops, let me put the pen back in my glue before it dries. There we go. And double check to make sure which way my card is opening on the front. So we don't want to put that down upside down, of course. I have done that more than once, unfortunately. I try to remember, but sometimes I just get so excited with what I'm doing and not pay attention. Okay. So we just stick this down onto the card front. Try and get that nice and straight. Okay, and then we'll add our sentiment down here at the bottom. And I'm using glue for this. Again, you could use tape. But I like using glue for things like this because I like having that time to adjust as I need to. And we'll put that right there at the bottom of our leaves and just kind of slide that over, make sure that it's straight and in the center. And that looks pretty good there. So we can go ahead and commit to that. And then the last thing we'll do is add a few embellishments on these, the little fronds that are on the leaves. They are actually designed for flowers, but, and you can add the flowers on there if you wanted to. You could do some more die cutting, but we're keeping this as like the ultimate in simple. And so we'll just put a few little little gems onto these little fronds to add a little extra visual interest. Let's see. I think I'll do it like that. And then I'll put a baby one over here. And a baby here. And little one, little guy here. And here. So there you go. That is today's project. Super simple, super easy, and just a gorgeous little card that you can use to send a note to someone and put a smile on their face. So thank you so much for being here. I hope that you will take some time to create your own kindness this week. Be sure to check out my my YouTube, not my YouTube channel, my blog, elegantsentiments.com, where you'll find other tutorials with easy and elegant floral designs typically, and also my Facebook page, Elegant Sentiments Limited, where you can find fun ideas and little tips and tricks that will help your card crafting journey. Thank you again for being here. We'll see you next time and have a fantastic week. Bye for now.